So I've been using the Asus Zenbook S16 for a daily laptop driver for the past 6 months, and I wanted to give my honest review and opinion of this laptop. There's a couple things I'm going to be going over in this video, talking about the build quality of the laptop, the overall performance, and after 6 months, would I recommend this laptop? The first part I wanted to cover in this video is the build quality of the laptop. Now, the laptop doesn't have any scratches, any dents, or anything like that. It even handles fingerprints very well, at least in my case. I got the laptop in the Scandinavian white, which I was worried that was going to show fingerprints, but oddly enough, it doesn't. Now, the top part of this chassis, Asus is calling it something Ceraluminum. Now, I'm not too sure of what that is, but I do know that it does have a kind of a different texture, and it handles fingerprints very well. The overall laptop is thin and it's very lightweight to carry around, which I think is a very good factor to have in a laptop. So if you're somebody who's worried about weight or even space in your backpack, honestly, you don't even notice that this laptop's there, and it's just really great overall build quality. Secondly, I wanted to talk about the performance of the laptop. Overall, the laptop seems to handle most of my workflow pretty well. Now, I don't have any benchmarks to show you guys, so I do want to apologize for that, but just talking from my personal experience with the laptop, I use it for Google Docs, video, and Photoshop, and then as well as watching some content like on Netflix or YouTube. Now, the chip in this laptop is the Ryzen AI 9 365, and it does have the integrated graphics of the 880M, and I'll dive a little bit more into gaming a bit later. But for the overall performance, I do notice on the Photoshop and video editing, which are going to be the harder tasks that this chip is going to handle, it seems to do just fine. I do notice on my video editing that the battery tends to die very fast, and I do have it on the battery saving mode, which even with the low voltage and the fans turned off, the chip doesn't seem to have any problems handling that workflow, but the battery does drain a bit fast, I've noticed. So if you are planning on working with this with video editing, I would recommend bringing a charger. But if you're just an overall student or you're not doing really heavy work, it'll probably get you throughout a full 8-hour day, no problem, without having to bring an extra charger. So to talk about the actual gaming on the laptop, as mentioned before, it has the integrated 880M graphics on it, which I've noticed can play majority of games just fine. I would say it's a better performance than the Steam Deck, so take that as any game that the Steam Deck can play, this one can play just fine, like mostly on the 1080p graphic settings and probably low. Now, this laptop isn't really marketed as gaming, so do keep that in mind. Especially one problem I do have with the gaming is obviously the battery life isn't going to last you very long, but because the laptop is so thin, the chip actually gets really hot and the laptop has a hard time dissipating that heat. My coworker, after I showed him the laptop and had him play it, he mentioned on the keyboard that you could feel on how hot it is. Now, it wasn't burning temperature for the keyboard, but on the underside, if you did leave your fingers there long enough, or even if you put it on your lap, you would probably start to cause burns on your body. So that definitely is a concern that I have. Now, once again, I know it's not marketed to gamers, but even let's say you're doing heavy video editing or any hard tasks that's going to use a lot of that CPU and GPU, do be aware that this laptop does get very hot. So I would recommend putting it on a desk and keeping it away from your lap, as it will cause some problems. Now, I wanted to talk about some smaller things like some quality of life. The laptop does have Windows Hello, which I find to be very useful when I just open up my laptop lid and it immediately launches into whatever I need it to, especially the desktop environment. That works really well. The keyboard, now I'm not much of a keyboard fanatic on laptops, but it definitely doesn't feel bad. I enjoy typing on it sometimes. So that's definitely a plus. The speakers on the laptop aren't the worst quality. I know there's definitely better out there. I personally just use headphones on it, as I'm not much for using speakers for anything besides my JBL for when I'm in the shower. But the overall laptop speakers, they're decent and they'll get done what you need to. Okay, so this is testing the webcam on the Zenbook as well as the microphone. The Video quality doesn't seem to be too bad. I don't have like my studio light on. This is just coming off of my light on my ceiling fan. And then obviously you guys will be hearing the audio, so you can be the judge of if this is good enough for you. The overall port selection of the laptop, I think, is actually pretty good for current day standards. It does have a full SD slot, a HDMI, 2 USB-Cs, and a headphone jack, and obviously a regular USB in case you have any older devices or you do want to plan on using a mouse or something like that. I am glad to see that. So you don't really have to carry around any sort of dongle or anything like that. So if you're somebody who hates to walk around with a dongle to plug in all your accessories, hopefully this laptop should get you covered. I don't find myself having to carry anything. Now, the screen quality is an OLED, so of course it looks really good. I don't seem to have any issues, and for watching content, it looks really nice. Now, I did want to talk about the battery life on the laptop. The battery life on the laptop, like I mentioned before, whenever I'm doing my lighter tasks, seems to last me throughout the day. I don't seem to have to be reaching for my charger to plug it into a wall wart. Now, if I'm doing some heavier tasks like gaming or some more heavier work on my video editing, I do notice the battery drain. Now, gaming is going to kill it the most. I've noticed, depending on the title, I mean, really, it will go anywhere from probably, I'd say, 2 to 3 hours till, if you aren't playing a really light title, probably 6 or 8. Obviously, it depends on that. For my video editing, I noticed that I was about to get 4 hours of work in before I had to reach for my charger. So that is something to think about. Now, the laptop is definitely better on the battery life compared to others I've had, especially ones with GPUs in it. I seem like on those, I can barely even get 3 hours of work done. So I do want to give props. It is a better battery life, and especially like I'm not on mine all the time. It's usually on and off. So it is good on that side. Overall, I'd say the battery quality is good, not great or amazing, but definitely better for Windows. Now, the overall laptop experience has been great. I think the build quality is really nice. I did want to touch base on the software side of things, as the laptop did come a bit bloated, as most Windows devices do. I didn't have too many problems, like it wasn't completely full, but it was something that I did need to keep in mind. So I did have to go in and delete Norton, since that wasn't necessary. But it does come with a My Asus software app, which definitely lets you have some device control settings, which is better than Windows. So you have the battery care mode, which lets it only charge up to 80%. And then you have these fan profiles, which also adjust the voltage to the CPU. Now you do have the full speed mode, which is going to basically max it out and you get the majority of the performance from the chip. It does have a performance mode, which is going to be a dynamic. It mixes between the cooling performance for demanding tasks and being quiet on the less straining tasks. Standard mode is just going to be for your everyday tasks. It's kind of the basic. And then you do have the whisper mode, which is the one I mainly run it in just because I don't like the fan noise that comes from laptops. Honestly, I am able to get most of my work done on the whisper mode, so I usually just keep it there. Besides that, it does have the allocated GPU memory. So the one laptop that I have comes with 24 gigabytes of RAM, which I am then able to dedicate up to 8 gigabytes to my GPU for the GPU to use, or you can set it for automatic, which lets the laptop decide for you, which I tend to leave it on automatic, but if you're somebody who likes to tinkers with that, so you do have the option. So overall on the laptop, after 6 months of using it, there's a couple of good things I like to say about it. The overall build quality I think is really nice. The battery life is decent. It lets me get through my day for what I need it to do, and the performance of the chip is absolutely amazing for what I've used in the past. So overall, I think the laptop's really good. The screen quality is nice. Everything about it is pretty solid, so I do definitely recommend it. if you're a student who needs some light work and you need a laptop to last you all day, or even if you just need a everyday laptop that even might be able to handle some harder tasks. Now, obviously, it's not going to be doing your extreme video editing or anything like that. You're probably going to want to get one with a GPU, but it's able to at least get you started for your content creation. The other thing I did also want to mention for my one major complaint is the overall heat of the laptop. I think is definitely a problem. The bottom underside gets very hot if you're doing anything slightly extreme, or anything that's going to be kind of rolling on the GPU or CPU. It gets very hot underneath, which doesn't let you put it on your lap. It'll actually burn after a while. And then even on the top where the vents are, it'll get hot there and when typing. But I think that's my overall just one major complaint on the laptop. Everything else about it is pretty good. Nothing really to complain about. So I think overall, I do recommend the laptop. I do want to talk about price. When I purchased this laptop, I paid about $1,200 for it. I think if you were to get it on sale, I would definitely push for it a bit more, like just get it then. But honestly, for the price, $1,200, I'm not really too mad. I mean, Apple's usually about the same price, with less RAM and less storage, which I'm definitely glad that I got mine, and plus Windows. I'm not much of a Mac fanboy, so if this video ends up getting 5,000 likes, I'll buy a MacBook to test out for you guys. I'm personally a Mac hater. I've always been a Mac hater most of my life, but if I get 5,000 likes on this video, I'll do a video reviewing one of those. But overall, like I said, I think the laptop's great. I definitely do recommend it. So thank you for watching. If you guys have any more recommendations for laptops, or even if you have any complaints about the one I'm testing, definitely leave it down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.